Hi, my name is Delphine, and my boss fired me in front of my 9-year-old daughter during career day at her elementary school. I was standing at a folding table in the gymnasium with a poster board about my job in pharmaceutical sales when my supervisor, Constance, walked in. Not as a parent, not as a volunteer, but as a woman who had driven 20 minutes to a school gymnasium to hand me a termination letter in front of my child and 34 other children and their parents. She walked up to my table. She did not lower her voice. She said, "Delphine, I need you to step outside. This is your notice of termination effective immediately. Your access has been revoked. HR will send the details." I was holding a marker. I had been writing fun facts about pharmaceutical research on my poster board. My daughter Camille was sitting in the front row of the chairs arranged for the presentations. She was wearing a shirt that said, "My mom is my hero," that she had made with fabric markers the night before. I said, "Constance, this is career day. I am at my daughter's school, and I am at my employee's last day. The timing is unfortunate, but the decision has been made." She handed me the envelope, in front of Camille, in front of the other parents, in front of Mrs. Chen, Camille's teacher, who was standing near the door with her mouth open, in front of 34 children who were about to learn that Career Day sometimes includes a live demonstration of how careers end. I took the envelope. I did not open it. I looked at Constance and I said, "I will review this with my attorney." And then I turned back to my poster board, and I finished writing the fun fact I had started because my daughter was watching, and the woman in the "My Mom is My Hero" shirt was not going to see her mother crumble at a folding table in a gymnasium. Constance left. I finished my presentation. I talked about pharmaceutical research for 15 minutes with a termination letter in my bag and a smile on my face that was held together by the sheer refusal to let my daughter see me break. After the presentation, Camille ran to me. She said, "Mom, that was amazing. What did that lady want?" "She wanted to talk about work, baby. Nothing important? Nothing important." The biggest lie I told my daughter that day, and the most necessary one. The termination was retaliatory. I had filed a complaint 3 months earlier about Constance's management practices. She had been inflating sales numbers, pressuring the team to misrepresent product efficacy to physicians, and creating a culture of fear that resulted in 4 employees leaving in 6 months. I reported it to HR. HR investigated. And Constance found out who filed the complaint. The termination letter cited performance issues. My performance reviews for the previous 3 years were all above expectations. The letter cited attendance concerns. I had missed 2 days in 3 years, both for Camille's medical appointments. The letter cited failure to meet quarterly targets. I had exceeded my targets every quarter for the previous 2 years. Sandra Chen reviewed the letter and the complaint timeline. She said, "This is textbook retaliation. You filed a complaint. Your supervisor found out. She terminated you. The timing and the pretextual reasons make this actionable." We filed a wrongful termination lawsuit. The case took 8 months. During those 8 months, I did something Constance did not anticipate. I started my own company. The pharmaceutical sales industry is built on relationships. I had spent 9 years building mine. Every physician I called on, every hospital administrator I met with, every pharmacy director I presented to. Those relationships were mine, not Constance's, not the company's, mine. Built on trust and consistency and the kind of follow-through that makes a doctor pick up the phone when you call. I called 12 of my former clients the week after the termination. I told them I was starting an independent consulting firm specializing in pharmaceutical market access. 11 of them signed contracts within 30 days. Within 6 months, Delphine Consulting had 14 clients, 2 employees, and revenue that exceeded my previous salary by 40%. I operated out of my living room for the first 3 months, and then moved into a small office with a window and a door I could close when Camille was doing homework at the desk I set up for her in the corner. The wrongful termination case settled. The company paid $210,000. Constance was terminated as part of the settlement because the investigation into my complaint revealed that the inflated sales numbers were real and the company's legal exposure was significant. Constance was fired by the company she ran for the practices I reported after she fired me at my daughter's career day for reporting them. The circle closed in 8 months, and the woman who handed me a termination letter in front of my 9-year-old was now unemployed and looking for work in an industry where I was building a company. 6 months after the settlement, Constance applied for a position at a firm that required references from previous industry contacts. One of those contacts was a physician I had worked with for 7 years, a physician who is now a client of Delphine Consulting. The physician called me. He said Delphine, a woman named Constance, applied for a position and listed pharmaceutical industry experience. She asked if I would provide a reference. Before I respond, I wanted to ask you about her. I know Constance, I said. She was my former supervisor. She fired me at my daughter's career day. She was later terminated for the sales inflation I reported. I cannot provide a professional recommendation. He said, That is all I needed to hear. Thank you. Constance did not get the job. I do not know if my conversation was the reason, but I know that in a small industry, reputation is the only currency that survives a termination. And Constance's reputation now included the woman who fired an employee at a school gymnasium and was later fired herself for the thing that employee reported. Camille is 11 now. She still has the My Mom is My Hero shirt. It does not fit anymore, but she keeps it in her dresser. She told me last month that career day is coming up again and she wants me to present. What should I talk about? I asked. She said, Talk about your company. Talk about how you started it in our living room. Talk about how sometimes the worst day turns into the best thing. Sometimes the worst day turns into the best thing. An 11-year-old's summary of wrongful termination, entrepreneurship, and the specific resilience of a woman who finished a poster board presentation with a termination letter in her bag. That is the image. Not Constance in the gymnasium. Not the envelope. Not the $210,000 settlement. A folding table at career day. A poster board. A 9-year-old in a handmade shirt. And a mother who did not stop presenting because the woman who fired her was not worth the interruption. If your boss ever humiliated you in front of someone you love, I want to hear how you handled it. Drop your story in the comments. I will be back next week. Next time, the mother who showed up at my job and told my coworkers I was a terrible daughter. Carmen asked me what I would say if Constance ever called me directly. I would say nothing, I said. I would let the silence do what words cannot, because Constance does not need my words. She needs my absence. The absence of the woman she tried to erase from a career who built a bigger one from the rubble. Silence is louder than anything I could say to a woman who fired me at a folding table in front of my child. And the loudest silence is the kind that comes from a woman sitting in her own office running her own company while the person who fired her is submitting applications. Camille drew a picture last week. A folding table, a poster board, a woman in a hero shirt standing behind it. And behind the woman a building with a sign that says, Delphine Consulting. She said, This is you, Mom. First at the table, then at the building. The table came first, but the building is bigger. She is right. The table came first, and the building is bigger. And the woman who stood at both is the same woman wearing 2 different versions of herself. The employee who was fired. The CEO who was forged. Forged. Like metal in heat. The termination was the furnace. The company was the shape I became when the heat was done. Constance thought she was breaking me. She was tempering me, heating the metal until it bent, and then watching it cool into something harder and sharper and more useful than the thing she threw away. I am harder now. Not cruel. Harder. The kind of hard that comes from standing at a folding table with a termination letter in your bag and finishing the presentation because your daughter is watching, and the woman in the hero shirt does not quit mid-sentence. The shirt is in Camille's dresser, The company is in the office with the window, the settlement is in the bank, and the poster board is in the garage, folded, leaning against the wall, still marked with the fun fact I was writing when Constance walked in. Fun fact. Number 7. The pharmaceutical industry employs over 300,000 people in the United States. It employs 300,002 now. Me and my 2 employees, working from an office I built, in a company I named after myself. Because the woman Constance fired at Career Day decided her name belonged on a building, not a termination letter. Delphine Consulting, founded in a living room, built on relationships, surviving on the stubbornness of a woman who would not stop writing fun facts while her career was being demolished. Fun fact number 8. Sometimes the person who fires you at Career Day becomes the case study you present at the next one. That is the fun fact Camille wants on the new poster board. And I think she is right. It is the best one on the list.